the anomaly appears. The galactic concordance prided itself on order. For 3 millennia, it had grown and evolved across 17 spiral arms, encompassing over 4,000 sentient species, each neatly categorized and understood. Their vast database of xenobiology, behavior patterns, and evolutionary tracks was the envy of neighboring galactic clusters. Everything had its place in their meticulous taxonomy. Alpha predator threat levels, passive synthesizer species, skittish herbivore collectives. Coordinator Plex, the crystalline entity who led the Concordance Council, found profound satisfaction in this order. Its silicon-based neural structures processed the universe as a series of logical classifications, with little room for ambiguity, which is why the current situation was causing what its species would consider extreme discomfort. The data makes no sense. Plex's resonant voice echoed through the circular chamber of the Grand Concilium. The holographic displays surrounding the 23 council representatives flickered with images of a blue-green planet. Sol, 3, designated Earth by its inhabitants, continues to defy standard classification protocols. The gathered representatives murmured in their various communications methods, some audible, others chemical or electromagnetic, all expressing variations of concern. Long-range scans continue to present contradictory findings, continued Plex, manipulating the display with a crystalline appendage. Observe. Advanced weaponry indicating extreme predatory development, alongside complex social structures typically found in cooperative species. The display shifted to satellite imagery of human military exercises juxtaposed with footage of medical personnel treating the wounded in disaster zones. Most concerning is their historical record, Plex continued. The species is engaged in continuous internal predation, what they call war, throughout their documented history. Yet they simultaneously demonstrate altruistic behavior toward non-sentient creatures and even inanimate objects. Ambassador, Sith of the Serpentia Confederation, raised a scaled appendage. Perhaps we are witnessing speciation in progress? 2 distinct subspecies occupying the same ecological niche. Considered and rejected, Plex responded flatly. Genetic analysis shows remarkable homogeneity for a species with such behavioral variance. It was at this moment that the Concilium's attention was diverted by an urgent communique. A probe ship dispatched to the outer reaches of the Sol system for passive observation had experienced an unexpected encounter. The ship's AI interface appeared before the Council, its avatar expression set to concerned. Honored Council, I must report an unexpected development. While maintaining stealth protocols at the edge of the Sol system, we were detected by a human vessel. Before evasive maneuvers could be implemented, we received a transmission. Plex's crystalline structure pulsed with alarm frequencies. A hostile response? Inconclusive, replied the AI. The transmission began with simple mathematical sequences, prime numbers, the value of pi to 100 digits, basic universal constants, clearly indicating intelligent contact protocols. However, this was immediately followed by a crude animation depicting a large-eyed alien figure tripping over a lunar rock, accompanied by rhythmic audio emissions from multiple human sources. A weapon signature? Asked Grok, the tactical representative from the predatory Vrex Dominion. Negative, the AI responded. Analysis suggests the audio emissions correlate with a physiological response the humans call laughter. I have classified the transmission as aberrant behavior, potentially a malfunction or poorly executed threat display. The council chamber erupted in confused discussion. Plex called for order with a harmonic pulse that resonated through the chamber. This situation requires immediate attention, declared Plex. The combination of advanced weaponry, predatory history, and inexplicable social behaviors makes these humans a classification priority. I am authorizing the deployment of a specialized xenobiological behavioral analysis unit to conduct covert observation. Ambassador Marine of the Empathic Aurori Collective raised a translucent tentacle. Coordinator, if I may, the emotional resonance patterns we've detected from Earth are unlike anything in our databases. There are frequent spikes of what appear to be distress signals, immediately followed by pleasure responses, all in safe social contexts. It's perplexing. Precisely why focused study is required, Plex concluded. These contradictions must be resolved before any official contact protocols can be established. The humans must be understood. As the council adjourned, none of the representatives could have predicted how this understanding would fundamentally challenge their view of evolutionary processes, or that the answer would lie in the strange, rhythmic noises humans made when amused. Observation Station, Earth. This observation post offers optimal data collection parameters, declared Dr. Clicks, adjusting the settings on the Cloak satellite orbiting Earth. The primary analyst of the Xenobiological Behavioral Analysis Unit was methodical to a fault, his exoskeleton clicking softly as his 4 upper limbs worked multiple interfaces simultaneously. The XBU team had been assembled specifically for this mission, drawing specialists from across the concordance. Besides Dr. Clicks, there is Tactical Observer Grok, a sinewy predator whose species had evolved from pack hunters, social dynamics specialist Fleep, whose gelatinous form housed a collective consciousness accustomed to perfect social harmony, and Linguistics/Cultural Interpretation Unit 734, an AI entity specifically designed to process and analyze alien communication patterns. I still maintain this assignment is excessive, growled Grok, his retractable claws tapping impatiently against the console. The scans clearly show predatory markers. These humans should be classified as alpha-tier threats and monitored accordingly. Your perspective is understandably biased by your evolutionary background, countered Fleep, their translucent body rippling with patterns of thoughtful consideration. My analysis suggests their social structures are far too complex for simple predator classification. The degree of altruism displayed exceeds survival necessity by 47%. Both perspectives remain valid until further data collection. Dr. Clicks interjected, preventing the familiar argument from continuing. Our mission is to resolve these contradictions, not perpetuate them. Unit 734. What is the status of our covert observation network? The AI's holographic interface flickered into life, displaying a global map of Earth with thousands of tiny points of light. Nano-drone swarms deployed and operational in all major population centers. Satellite coverage optimal. Deep web data mining protocols active. We are receiving approximately 2.7 exabytes of observational data per Earth day. Excellent, clicked Dr. Clicks. Let us begin with high-probability comparative scenarios to establish behavioral baselines. Over the following weeks, the XBU team observed humans in countless situations, growing increasingly perplexed by the contradictions they witnessed. They observed military training exercises where humans pushed their bodies to physiological limits, displaying classic predatory dominance behaviors. Yet these same trained killers would, hours later, risk their lives to rescue animals from traffic or environmental disasters. They watched ruthless business negotiations where humans displayed territorial aggression over resources, only to see these same individuals later sharing self-deprecating stories and erupting in collective laughter during breaks. I am detecting a pattern correlation, announced Unit 734 during their daily analysis session. There appears to be a 78.3% probability that the sound humans call laughter serves as some form of tension release mechanism following potential conflict scenarios. Elaborate, instructed Dr. Clicks. Observe this recording from a social gathering designated comedy club, replied the AI, bringing up footage on the main screen. The team watched as a human stood alone on a small stage, describing personal failures and embarrassing situations in explicit detail. After each revelation, the seated humans would produce synchronized rhythmic vocalizations. Laughter. I fail to comprehend the logical structure, admitted Unit 734. The speaking human is revealing weakness and failure, which should diminish social standing. Yet the collective response indicates approval and elevated status. It makes no sense, growled Grok. In my species, such admission of weakness would result in immediate challenge or expulsion from the pack. Perhaps that is precisely the point, bubbled Fleet thoughtfully. They are demonstrating vulnerability in a controlled context. Dr. Click's mandibles clicked rapidly, his species equivalent of deep thought. Unit 734. Access human cultural databases. Search for terms related to this behavior pattern. Keywords: laughter, social bonding, tension release. A moment later, the AI responded. I have identified a relevant concept: humor. Human sources define it as the quality of being amusing or comic, especially as expressed in literature or speech. However, evolutionary explanations for this behavior are fragmented and inconsistent across human scientific literature. Let us continue observation with this new conceptual framework, decided Dr. Clicks. Focus on scenarios where humor manifests in relation to potentially aggressive or stressful situations. Their observations expanded. They watched children engage in mock predator-prey games, tag, hide, and seek, that ended not with simulated kills, but with laughter and embraces. Grok was particularly disturbed by this perversion of predator-prey dynamics. Fleep was confused by the simultaneous competition and bonding. During a diplomatic function, they observed humans using subtle verbal jousting, something called roasting, where individuals would publicly criticize others in exaggerated ways, resulting in group laughter rather than conflict. Fascinating, murmured Dr. Clicks as they reviewed the accumulated data. I am beginning to formulate a hypothesis. This humor consistently appears at social junctures where, logically, aggression or fear should manifest. It appears to serve as some form of behavioral circuit breaker. A weakness, insisted Grok. They lack the courage to follow through on natural aggressive impulses. Or perhaps, countered Fleep, an evolutionary innovation that our taxonomic system has never encountered before. As the team continued their observation, a pattern was emerging that would challenge everything the concordants thought they understood about predatory species evolution. The evolutionary puzzle. Access granted to human paleontological and anthropological databases, announced Unit 734. Beginning deep analysis of human evolutionary history. The XBU team had moved to Phase 2 of their investigation, understanding how and why humans had developed this contradictory set of traits. Dr. Clicks had requisitioned additional computing resources from the concordants to process the vast amount of historical and scientific data they were analyzing. Their physical evolution is particularly unimpressive, noted Grok with thinly veiled contempt as they reviewed reconstructions of early human ancestors. No natural armor, negligible claws, unexceptional speed. Compared to apex predators from their own planet, they are remarkably vulnerable. Yet they became the dominant species through predatory behavior, countered Dr. Clicks. Their primary advantages appear to be intelligence, tool use, and social cooperation. Therein lies the fundamental paradox. Grok responded, a note of genuine intellectual curiosity breaking through his usual dismissiveness. How can a species dependent on cooperation survive when individuals possess strong predatory drives? Aggression, competition, territoriality, these traits should logically lead to self-destruction through internal conflict. Many social species solve this through rigid hierarchies or specialized roles. Fleep contributed, their gelatinous form shimmering with thoughtful patterns. But humans display remarkable flexibility in social structures across different cultural contexts. Unit 734 interrupted with new findings. I have correlated the archaeological evidence of complex tool use and coordinated hunting strategies with the earliest evidence of symbolic representation and potential ritual behavior. There appears to be a statistically significant temporal relationship. Show me, commanded Dr. Clicks. The main screen displayed a timeline of human evolution, highlighting technological developments alongside evidence of increasingly complex social behavior. Observe, continued the AI. The first evidence of cooperative hunting strategies employing division of labor appears approximately 400,000 Earth years ago. Within roughly the same evolutionary window, we see the first evidence of intentional burial of the dead in primitive art forms. Dr. Click's compound eyes focused intently on the data. Something was clicking into place, a pattern that had eluded concordance xenobiologists for millennia. "I believe I understand," he announced suddenly, his exoskeleton vibrating with excitement. "It is not a coincidence or an evolutionary accident. Humor evolved specifically as a mechanism to manage the dangers of predatory instincts in a highly social species." The others turned their attention to him as he continued, mandibles clicking rapidly. "Consider the evolutionary pressures. Early humans needed predatory aggression to hunt and defend territories. Yet they simultaneously required intense social cooperation to raise vulnerable offspring and maximize survival odds through group living. These traits are fundamentally in tension." Dr. Clix manipulated the holographic display, bringing up neural scans of human brains during various emotional states. Look at what happens in the human brain during laughter. There is a release of neurotransmitters that reduce stress and promote bonding: oxytocin, endorphins, dopamine. This would have served multiple crucial evolutionary functions. He began counting on his multiple appendages. Function 1. Stress regulation. Laughter releases tension during high-risk cooperative hunts or periods of scarcity, preventing aggression from turning inward toward group members. Function 2. Social bonding. Shared laughter reinforces group cohesion, essential for pack survival. And vulnerable offspring rearing. It signals trust and non-aggression within the group. Function 3. Non-lethal conflict resolution and dominance testing. Jokes and wit allow individuals to navigate social hierarchies, test boundaries, and resolve disputes without resorting to violence that could destabilize the cooperative unit. Irony permits the expression of disagreement or criticism indirectly. The team absorbed this analysis in silence for a moment. "So they weaponized weakness?" Grok finally asked, sounding almost impressed despite himself. "Not exactly," Dr. Clix corrected. "They evolved a sophisticated behavioral tool that allowed them to maintain predatory advantages while minimizing the cost of those same traits within their social groups. An elegant solution to a seemingly impossible evolutionary contradiction," Philippe acknowledged, their form pulsing with patterns of admiration. Unit 734 updated its parameters. Recategorizing. Humor equals complex social signaling protocol for intraspecies predatory drive mitigation. "There is one way to test this theory conclusively," Dr. Clix announced. "We must observe how humor functions during first contact with a species that does not share this evolutionary adaptation." As if in response to his statement, a priority communication arrived from the Concordance Council. "The Council is demanding updated classification," announced Unit 734. "The Cathar Empire has been detected moving aggressively near human space. The Concordance must determine whether to classify humans as potential allies or threats. Inform the Council that we recommend a controlled contact scenario," Dr. Clix decided. "It is time to test our hypothesis." Testing the theory, the diplomatic incident. The diplomatic vessel of the Galactic Concordance, the harmonic resolution, hung in the darkness of space at the edge of the Sol system. It was a marvel of engineering, its crystalline structure refracting starlight in patterns of mathematical precision. Aboard, a carefully selected crew of stoic, protocol-oriented diplomats prepared for humanity's first official extraterrestrial contact. Meanwhile, the XBU team monitored from their cloaked observation post, ready to analyze every nuance of the interaction. "The human exploratory vessel approaches," announced Unit 734. "They are hailing the harmonic resolution using standard electromagnetic communication." "Remember," instructed Dr. Clix to his team, "the Concordance diplomats have been briefed to maintain strictly formal protocols. No emotional displays, no deviation from established first contact procedures. This will provide optimal conditions to observe human reactions to a non-humorous species." On the main screen, they watched as communication was established between the vessels. The human ship, significantly smaller and clearly retrofitted from existing technology rather than purpose-built, maintained a respectful distance. The Concordance diplomats appeared on screen first, a delegation of 5 different species, each chosen for their logical disposition and adherence to protocol. Their spokesperson, a tall, gray-skinned humanoid with symmetrical features, began the formal greeting. Representatives of Sol 3, designated Earth. We are the diplomatic envoys of the Galactic Concordance, a collective of sentient species dedicated to mutual advancement and understanding. We come in peace and logical cooperation. The human delegation appeared on the split screen. 5 individuals of varying ages, genders, and ethnic backgrounds. Their spokesperson, the captain of the vessel, smiled warmly. On behalf of all humanity, we welcome you. This is an historic moment for our species, and we are honored to be the first to make contact with the Galactic Concordance. The formal exchange of credentials and basic information proceeded smoothly for several minutes. The Concordance representatives maintained their expressionless demeanor, responding with precise, measured statements. The humans were polite, but noticeably growing more tense as the conversation continued without any emotional reciprocity. "Observe," whispered Fleep. "The humans are exhibiting signs of social discomfort. Their need for emotional mirroring is not being met. Physical indicators suggest rising stress levels," confirmed Unit 734. "Elevated heart rates, increased perspiration, subtle postural shifts." After a particularly long and formal explanation of Concordance protocol from the Gray diplomat, an awkward silence fell. The human captain's smile tightened slightly before he attempted to lighten the mood. "So, do you guys get cable out here, or is it all nebulae and reruns?" The Concordance diplomats stared blankly. Their translator relayed the words literally, which made no contextual sense. Their internal communications channel erupted with confusion. "Query, cable? Relevance?" one diplomat asked another. "Unknown reference to. Transmission technology. Possible inquiry about communication capabilities," another responded. "Clarification needed. Response protocol unclear," added a third. On the human ship, the captain realized his joke had fallen completely flat. A flicker of shared amusement passed between the human delegation members. Subtle eye contact, suppressed smiles, a barely perceptible shake of the head from one officer to another. Importantly, they did not interpret the lack of response as hostility, but as a lack of understanding. Without missing a beat, the captain smoothly returned to formal discussion, though with slightly more careful phrasing. "I apologize for any confusion. Please continue with your explanation of contact protocols. We're eager to learn how the Concordance typically proceeds with new civilizations." In the observation post, Dr. Click's mandibles clicked excitedly. Confirmation. The humans instinctively used humor to assess the situation and reduce tension. When it failed, they adjusted without escalation, recognizing it as a social rather than hostile failure. Their threat assessment and de-escalation capabilities are impressive, acknowledged Grok reluctantly. They recognized a non-hostile alien response pattern and adapted immediately. Note the subtle, nonverbal communication reinforcing internal group bonds, added Fleep. The shared moment of recognition among the humans actually strengthened their cohesion in the face of the awkward interaction. "This is consistent with our hypothesis," concluded Dr. Clicks. "Humor functions as an evolutionary adaptation, allowing humans to maintain both predatory instincts and social cohesion. When confronted with beings lacking this adaptation, they recognize the difference and compensate without interpreting it as threat or weakness." As the diplomatic exchange continued on screen, the XBU team began compiling their final report. The classification of humanity would need to be completely reconsidered, not just their place in the Concordance taxonomy, but perhaps the taxonomy itself. Report and future. The Grand Concilium of the Galactic Concordance was rarely filled to capacity, but today every representative was present, either physically or via secure holographic projection. The mysterious humans of Sol 3 had captured the attention of the entire galactic community. Dr. Click stood at the center of the chamber, his exoskeleton polished to a formal sheen. Behind him, holographic displays showed selected footage from the XBU team's observations, along with data visualizations and evolutionary timelines. Honored Council, he began, I present the findings of the Xenobiological Behavioral Analysis Unit regarding the sole 3 hominids, self-designated as humans. Our report is titled, Social Predation and the Humor Modulator, Decoding Soul, 3 Hominid Classification. Coordinator plexes crystalline form pulsed with frequencies indicating attentiveness. Proceed with your findings, Dr. Clicks. Our extensive observation and analysis has led us to a revolutionary conclusion, continued Dr. Clicks. Humans represent an evolutionary pathway previously undocumented in concordance taxonomy. They are social predators with a built-in behavioral modulator we now understand as humor. Murmurs rippled through the concilium as representatives communicated their surprise through various means. To understand this classification, we must first acknowledge that humans evolved as predators. Their ancestors were pack hunters who developed advanced tool use and coordination strategies. However, unlike other predatory species who either remain solitary or develop rigid hierarchical structures, humans evolved an unprecedented level of social cooperation. Dr. Clicks manipulated the holographic display to show side-by-side comparisons of human behaviors, predatory alongside cooperative. The evolutionary paradox this presented was substantial. How could a species maintain the aggressive, competitive drives necessary for predation while simultaneously developing the trust and cooperation essential for their social survival strategy? The answer lies in what we now understand as humor. The display shifted to neural scans of human brains during laughter, alongside social interaction scenarios. Humor evolved not as an accidental byproduct of intelligence, but as an essential survival mechanism intrinsically linked to their predatory nature. It serves multiple critical functions in human society. Dr. Clicks enumerated these functions, supported by observational evidence from their mission. He explained how humor regulated stress, reinforced social bonds, and provided non-lethal mechanisms for conflict resolution and status negotiation. Most significantly, he continued, our controlled contact experiment confirmed this hypothesis. When faced with non-humorous species during first contact, humans instinctively attempted to use humor as a tension reduction mechanism. Upon recognizing its ineffectiveness, they smoothly adapted their approach without interpreting the lack of response as hostile. A remarkably sophisticated social intelligence. Ambassador Marine of the Aurori Collective raised a tentacle. This is fascinating, Dr. Clicks, but what are the practical implications for concordance relations with humans? Are they to be classified as a threat or potential ally? Neither classification is adequate, replied Dr. Clicks. Humans are predators, yes, with all the territorial and resource competitive drives that implies. However, their evolutionary pathway has created built-in safeguards against their own predatory instincts. They're simultaneously more dangerous and more cooperative than our taxonomy previously allowed for. Grok, who had joined Dr. Clicks for the presentation, stepped forward. As a representative of a predatory species myself, I initially dismissed humans as weak compromisers. I was wrong. Their evolutionary solution is elegant. They have weaponized social cohesion while maintaining predatory effectiveness. In some ways, they're more dangerous than purely predatory species because they can coordinate their aggression with unprecedented precision. Fleep added their perspective. From a collective consciousness viewpoint, humans have achieved something remarkable. They maintain individual identity and competitive drive while simultaneously building cooperative structures that can span their entire planet. Their humor allows them to constantly negotiate this balance in real-time social interactions. Coordinator plexes crystalline structure pulsed with frequencies indicating deep processing. Your findings challenge the very foundations of our taxonomic system, Dr. Clicks. If confirmed, we may need to reconsider classifications across multiple species. That is our assessment, agreed Dr. Clicks. We recommend creating a new classification: paradoxical social predator, or perhaps humor-modulated apex cooperator. The debate among council members was lengthy and sometimes heated. Representatives from prey species were cautiously optimistic about humans' built-in non-aggression signaling, while predatory species were confused by what some saw as an evolutionary compromise. Eventually, Coordinator Plex called for order. Based on the XBEU findings, the Council will establish a new classification category for humans and potentially other species with similar adaptations. Furthermore, we will proceed with formal diplomatic relations with Earth, equipped with this new understanding of their social dynamics. I recommend that all diplomatic personnel receive training in human humor recognition, added Dr. Clicks. While they cannot expect to generate humor themselves, understanding when it is being attempted and responding appropriately will be crucial for successful relations. As the council session concluded, preparations were already underway for expanded contact with humanity. Linguistic experts began compiling dictionaries of idioms and jokes. Cultural analysts studied patterns of humor across human societies, and diplomatic protocols were revised to accommodate this new understanding. Coordinator Plex, alone in its private chamber, reviewed the new human contact procedures, which now included a perplexing appendix titled Appendix 7B, Responding to Terran Humor Constructs, Preliminary Guidelines. The document recommended acknowledging attempted humor with phrase, "I understand this is a joke," followed by continuing previous discussion thread. Meanwhile, in the observation post orbiting Earth, Dr. Clicks watched footage of humans laughing helplessly at a video of cats, murmuring to himself, "Fascinating and utterly terrifying." The uniqueness of humanity had been established. They were indeed the only known species that combined predatory instincts with a sense of humor, a combination that made them simultaneously more dangerous and more cooperative than the Concordants had ever encountered. As formal first contact approached, the galaxy prepared to meet a species that had evolved to laugh in the face of its own deadly nature, perhaps the most sophisticated evolutionary adaptation of all. Their eventual place in the galactic community remained to be seen, but one thing was certain: no one would ever again make the mistake of classifying humans as simply predators or simply cooperators. They were both held in a delicate balance by the strange, powerful force of humor, a force that the rest of the galaxy was only beginning to understand.